I want to congratulate you on Cobra Kai. I have watched, I think, almost all of them. I am loving the show. I'm really enjoying it. It seems like the perfect show right now because it's this nice dose of nostalgia. It's really fun, and the show has a great sense of humor. I'm enjoying it. It's a great quarantine show.
Yes.
What's the response you're hearing from people?
Well, we'll take the great quarantine. I'll take the great show no matter what. But it is I call it the comfort food. You know, it's that big fat nostalgic embrace, and yet it's telling relevant stories for today and a great young cast, and it's just hitting on all cylinders. And that's this sort of blessing. I mean, this has been, I call it the second rebirth of the original movie. You know, we came out a few years ago on YouTube Premium, and now Netflix. It's just blown out of the water all over the world, and it's a great time for the show, and it's nice to be an alternative to the hell that we are living with every day. And
I'll tell you how you're affecting my life, which is one of the ways. You know, right now, in addition to quarantine, we've also have so much smoke in the air here in the West.
Right.
You can't go outside. I have a treadmill in the basement. It's in a tiny room, and there's a small TV there, and I will binge watch Cobra Kai, and I'm on the treadmill. And what happens is when it builds up to a fight scene, I crank the treadmill. So I'm running at like 60 miles an hour, bare chested. It's not a pretty sight. I'll get you a picture because you clearly want one, but I'm running full out as the kid is beating up the bullies in the cafeteria. And I'm like, and my family comes running downstairs because they think I've had a major heart attack.
Right?
Yeah.
That's good. And the show is laced with this great 80s homage music.
Yes.
Era, that time, the training montages and all that stuff. It is. Right. It is kick-ass in that way, and that's awesome. Well, I'm glad to help out in your cardio and everything else.
Yes, it's you mentioned 80s and nostalgia. I've got some pictures here. I'm sure your life has been being confronted by these pictures.
Yes,
you. Yeah, exactly. First of all, let's sue the guy who convinced you to do that pose.
I know. There's many others. That is not the one. I'm actually glad that was the one well, let's see what's next.
Oh, no. I've got this one too.
Well, that's from a movie. That's Teachers, the movie with Nick Nolte.
I know. But any kid who's wearing that hat to school needs to know karate.
That's right. Right.
It's funny because all these pictures, you and I think, are just about the same age. And the saving grace for me is there are no photographs of me until I'm about 30. I was unphotographed. I'm like someone that was born in the 1850s. There's no photograph of me. And then they start around the time I'm 29 or 30. What's it like for your kids when they're on the internet and this pops up and they say, "Dad, what the
thinking? Yeah, what the and it gives them leverage, great amounts of leverage.
Yeah.
It's I mean, what are you going to do? It's kind of fun because when my kids were, my daughter was like 4 when she first saw the Karate Kid, maybe 5, and so it was one of those things. We were touring. I was doing a Broadway musical around the country called How to Succeed, and I was playing the lead in this show. And every city we would go to these Planet Hollywoods, which were big deals back in the early '90s, and we would grab lunch there with my kids. And my daughter would see this memorabilia up and ask these questions like, why are people standing on one leg and holding their arms up in the air when they see Daddy? And what is that headband? Why are they wearing it? And then finally it was like, well, it's time to sit you down, honey. Daddy's not like all the other daddies. And then I showed her the film at 4 years old.
You showed her Karate Kid at 4.
Yeah, 5 years old. I think it was 5 because we got back when she was 5. And I showed her that, and thinking that I would make her proud, and not thinking that I get my ass kicked in every other scene, and she's watching her dad be beaten to a pulp constantly and running out of the room. So that was an epic parent fail by me.
Yeah, you scarred your child for life.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, my children at any point in their lives would love nothing more than to see footage of being beaten.
It might have changed to that when she got through middle school, but at 5, she really, I was a hero for a moment.
Yeah.
And my son on the flip side found all those teen magazine kind of pictures when he was about the same age and ran into the family room to my daughter and said, "Look, Dad was huge and we missed it." So fortunately for me right now with Cobra Kai show, Dad may not be that huge, but they're not missing it.
Well, you guys have been like the #1 show on.
Yeah, we are huge. Let's say it. I'm huge.
I mean, let's just say that this is, and another thing I wanted to say about the show that I really love is there's a real funny sense of humor and self-awareness about the show.
Mm.
So I love, there are these scenes where Johnny Lawrence, the bully in the original Karate Kid, he's struggling and he doesn't understand that the 80s are over. And then he's touching scenes where he's like trying to he's trying to sell his Atari console and people are like, we don't give a shit about this anymore. He's very good at tapping into, it's almost in a comical way. He doesn't understand that it hasn't been the 80s for a long time. He missed, someone didn't tell him that things have changed.
Yeah, it's refreshing to have a character like that who is not politically correct in any way, shape, or form and represent a lot of what many people think but can't or won't say. So I think there's a release with that because we're so overprotective of everything.
Yes.
He's the anti-hero. And you root for that redemption. That's the cool thing about the show is it really, your allegiance to each character can change episode to episode because it dives more into the gray areas of who these guys are and even the young characters as opposed to the black and white of what Karate Kid was, good or evil,
Right. Well, what's happened, interestingly enough, is that initially Karate Kid, and I remembered seeing it in the theater when it came out, was about, you are clearly the protagonist, you're the underdog, you're the hero, and then it's clear who the bully is, Johnny Lawrence. What happened over time, and it's kind of a tribute to the film, is that people got into these discussion groups, and it sort of became part of almost a cultural question of who's the real bully.
Right.
Because he has the cruel sensei, and you have the nice sensei. You take his girlfriend, and it became, those are the intellectual discussions of our time, basically.
You've laid it out beautifully.
Yeah.
It has become pop culture. I mean, it's really become that. There are fan videos, theories. The crane kick was illegal. You say he took his girlfriend. Well, she was, I mean, we could go on and on about that. I defend LaRusso, but it's fun. It's fun that people care. I mean, they've cared for 35, 36 years, and now it's lifted to another level.
But Ralph, be honest. There were times when you wake up in the middle of the night, covered in sweat, screaming, "The crane kick was legal." It totally was legal.
Oh, more often than you know. I must confess on the Conan O'Brien show.
Do you ever do that? Do you ever, you're getting a latte and someone's just giving you a look?
A little like, it was legal. It was legal. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm doing that all week.
It was legal. I love it. Well,
every day this week, I'm doing that.